Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Tam's Psych Advice. And today we're going to talk about the ENTJ, ENFJ couple. And this is not the same couple. What do you think I mean by that? So put in the comments what you think I mean. And while you do that, I just want to let you know that I've been in the mood to do some pop-up videos, some really, really good ones. So make sure that you subscribe. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, share my videos with your friends. And without further ado, let's see if you figured out my ENFJ mind and why I said this is not the same couple. So I'm thinking along the lines of interchanging. If you have a female and a male of this type, so you might think, okay, ENTJ male, ENFJ female, but what about when it's an ENTJ female and an ENFJ male? Would this be the same couple? If you were to go out to dinner with both of these couples, would you observe the exact same thing? Or would there be something different that you notice? I think it changes the couple. That's just my opinion, but you let me know in the comment section. Some people might say that an ENFJ has an advantage if it's a female because many of the nurturing, caring qualities associated with this type. But the truth is that ENFJs are such effective leaders that the male ENFJ is often seen as a man among men and seductively appealing to women. And I think that's so true. I really, really do. I almost did a whole video on that. They can be so appealing. We are really in a, I think, state where relationships are being redefined to a certain extent. Everyone is expected, and this is my opinion, you tell me what you think, but it feels like everyone is expected to tap into their feminine and masculine energy. People seem to want to be in a relationship where the person taps into both. And in fact, I was watching these relationship experts. They were talking to an ENFJ male and they were just patting him on the back. You are the man. You're assertive, you are take charge, but you can also tap into what a woman wants, and that is for you to be able to be a little bit more sensitive to her needs and tap into her feelings and emotions and understand that and work with that. And so they were just giving him every kind of praise that you can think of. Now, when it comes to a female ENTJ, do you think she would get that many pats on the back? What do you think? How do you think people respond? I've seen ENTJ females say things like, I have some masculine energy. Even though they can cry and get upset about things, they still recognize that they can also tap into masculine energy easier than most females can. And I think that's something that they relish and enjoy. Society, on the other hand, may have a more difficult time with that. People are looking for a balance of both these days. I really want to paint a picture for you of what the ENFJ male and ENTJ female looks like in a relationship and kind of point out a few differences. But first, let's kind of look at the relationship in general. Have you ever seen a couple that can sit down and actually have an enjoyable conversation about the arguments that they've had and laugh about it? Okay, so that's how this couple can be. This couple can reconnect when they have issues with each other. They can talk about their mistakes in a very open way. They can discuss the arguments that they've had and break them all the way down. They can both be a little hot tempered in the relationship. Maybe not all, but I would venture to say many of them can. And they can say some things that they don't really mean. They can sit down later, though, and break down the argument in its truest form and really go in depth, get deep in the conversation. And it's a learning moment and it's an enjoyable moment and it's refreshing to be able to comfortably go there. This is a space that if they tap into it, they can be above board. This couple has to be careful not to take punches at each other because they're both good at it, like giving shock value to hurt each other. But funny enough, they can come back later and each explain and admit, oh, yeah, when I said that, by the way, I was trying to make you mad in the moment. I really didn't mean it. So sometimes they can also misinterpret what the other person meant because they're both intuitives. So intuitives look at the possibilities. They look at things from different angles. They're going to turn things around, upside down, sideways, forward, because so they may take some statements the wrong way because they're picking up on little nuances. But it's funny when they come back and they talk about it, they have some aha moments and they're going to want to grow and get better. The other reason is that there's a heightened sensitivity in their relationship. Why? Because people are way more sensitive when it comes to romantic relationships. This is our vulnerable space. We can get really, really hurt. Now, here's where it can get a little bit different. When you have an ENTJ female and you have an ENFJ male, how do you think that changes the relationship? Think about our roles that we play in society. The male is thought of as the protector, the female is thought of as the nurturer. And so they are going to play that role, or they're going to try to. And you also have to remember that men have testosterone, women have estrogen, and it really does change things. At least there will be areas. So, as the protector, the provider, think about the things that a woman can do. Women have babies. An ENFJ male will look at that like, wow, you just went through 9 months, you went through all of that pain, so I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna do everything for you because you just sacrificed so much. They're gonna recognize that and they're gonna be like, I'm gonna step up my game. You don't have to lift a finger. I'll do everything for you for the next, few months. Well, an ENTJ female, they probably will buy into more of a traditional feminist role. I know as an ENFJ female, I understand the feminist movement, but I think if I have a guy and he's like, I'm going to step up and do this, I'm going to recognize that that is important to him. I'm going to step out of the way. It feels good to me. I'm not going to misinterpret that as you think I'm helpless or you think I can't do anything. But because of the way that the ENTJ female has lived her life with, hey, I got a big bark, I make moves, people get out of my way, I can make things, they have a more dominant personality, so they may be insulted by that. So in that case, with that couple, the ENFJ male might be hurt, like, I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to provide, protect, make sure you're okay. And her point of view will probably be, but I thought we could do this together. So I feed her, You can put her pajamas on her. We take turns. We share in the responsibility. I still want to step up to the plate and do this as a unit and as a team. So even though it's an ENFJ male, he's gonna want us. He's just gonna naturally step into that take charge. I'm gonna protect you, provide, take care of you type of role. If you have the reverse, where you have an ENTJ male and he's doing the same thing that ENFJ male is doing, the ENFJ female will be more likely, I think, to say, cool, that's awesome. I appreciate that. It feels good to let you do that for me type energy. And so that's kind of an example of how things can be a little bit different when you start to role reverse. So let's look at how the ENFJ male might think. I think that the ENFJ male can admit when he's a jerk, but the female ENTJ may not interpret it that way. Not in a negative way. She may just have not felt slighted by it because she's being objective about things. The ENFJ male, in some cases, won't take some things personally at all, in the sense that he will put himself in her shoes and understand how she feels. So that gives him an edge, right? So even though she's got a tougher exterior than some other women who are feelers, he can handle that. But there will be some other times though when he could take it personally, especially if he is trying to help her, but I'll explain that a little bit more in depth in just a minute. So the ENTJ is going to be a perfectionist in some ways. Even in a relationship, if they're not killing it, things are not peaceful and happy, she may start to feel defeated because the goal for her is to have no problems at all, a great connection, great communication all the time. I know his needs, he knows mine. We're mutual. We're emotionally regulating ourselves. We have self insight. And that ENFJ may help them to understand how to emotionally regulate better. But the ENFJ is going to be a little bit more realistic than that and understand that, hey, we got to give each other some room here. So we don't have to be perfect. We want to grow in this relationship. So I think the ENTJ might have to develop a little bit more tolerance for mistakes and imperfection and, hey, you said something that hurt my feelings, or that made me mad. I think the ENFJ is going to understand that relationship dynamic and be a touch more patient with it. This type has an advantage. I think they have the ability to understand each other better than some other types. It gives them an edge. It gives them a tolerance for each other because they will just get each other, I think. I do think that the ENTJ will soften some in the relationship because you're triggered by that feminine energy and that masculine energy. The masculine energy that the ENFJ is giving off triggers the ENTJ female's feminine energy to a certain extent. And so they balance each other in that way. So an ENFJ male might feel like, why am I always the one who's always having to change? Both of these types are gonna be, I don't want to say perfectionistic, but they're both gonna be very aware of certain things. So he might feel like, why am I always having to adjust? but I'm willing to adjust. But am I always the bad guy here? He can figure out what she needs in the relationship. He can adapt to the person who she is. And I think ENFJs have that ability to sort of, because they are chameleons, so they can kind of slither into the skin of the other person and figure out, okay, this is who I'm dealing with. How do I adjust? How do I pivot? What do I need to do differently? And if they can't figure that out, they will feel like a failure. So he's going to figure out what's bothering her. Is there a way that I can help you? And that ENTJ is also going to be the same in the sense that how can I help you as well? That ENFJ male is going to want to make things as smooth and be as loving as possible in the relationship. So let's look at a couple of areas that could create some tension in their relationship. So let's say they are having an argument. The ENTJ female's energy is going to be an I don't need you type of energy, or you better make sure that the next thing that you better think wisely before you say it, instead of I feel left out or I feel hurt. And the ENFJ, if they're having a discussion about it, might say, I don't like it when you make threats like, I'm walking out the door in 2 minutes if you don't do what I asked you to do. Those kinds of things. So they really have to work on their approach with each other, and I'm confident that they can figure those kinds of things out. Now, here's something that the ENFJ male will struggle with, but also the ENFJ female will struggle with. So he can admit that he causes distress in the relationship by his reaction to criticism, that he may become defensive, argumentative, and it has less to do with validating what the other person is feeling and more to do with making sure that their love interest still sees the good in them. A solution to that would be to react slower and listen to what their partner is saying before they try to defend themselves. The ENTJ can help the ENFJ to understand that I'm not saying that you are a bad person. I'm saying that something you're doing is hurtful in this moment. The ENTJ can feel bad when they say things that they don't mean, and they can tell themselves, you know what, I have to use my let me be quiet filter. Not everything you think should you say, and not make everything into a mountain. Because in other situations, being considerate is important, and you can help yourself tap into that feeling mode by saying, maybe he's having a hard day, and let me think about his feelings. What the ENTJ wants is an equal, mutual relationship. So something else to keep in mind about an ENFJ period is ENFJs are very independent also. ENFJs are also used to helping a lot of people. They may not be like acts of service type, like, oh, I'll fix your hamburger, let me make your plate, or I'll help you move today. But psychologically, they're used to helping people. And sometimes they can feel like, who's going to help me? Well, I can't really depend on anyone. Even though they're extroverted feelers, it's hard to explain how they can have a difficult time with expressing their feelings. It may not feel that comfortable at times. I don't know if it's a shame thing or if it's a pride thing. So they may not be expressing every single thing that they feel. That's the beauty of the relationship with the ENTJ, because the ENTJ can handle it. They can come in and be their soft place to fall, or I can teach you something new. I can show you the ropes. We can do this together, and that can be a sense of relief to the ENFJ. Also, even though the ENFJ is usually very willing to be adaptable in most relationships, they may still have a lane that they feel very, very strongly about, that they want to do things a certain way. Sometimes people can get frustrated by that because they're giving the ENFJ advice, but for the ENFJ, it's simply a suggestion that will help them make the ultimate decision themselves. So you got really, honestly, two pretty strong types together. So here's some final advice that you can think of. Most people want what in a relationship? They want happiness, right? So can you exchange happiness for a different word? Like creativity. Like the real goal is creativity, or some other word that you place there versus happiness. So when you flow with what's going on in the moment, creativity is not predictable or linear, and it's not formulaic. You flow with the time. You don't always have to do what worked in the past. So you don't have to apply, okay, I do this formula when this happens. Sometimes you have to adapt. You have to rise to the occasion based on the circumstances. When you're having an issue or an argument, when you are a couple. And sometimes you have to shift based on what's happening right now and handle it in that way, because life brings problems, life brings challenges, and you have to work through them. And the reward is when you can work through them, it's beautiful. So you have to figure out how to be interdependent versus independent, because both of those types can naturally be very independent and navigate comfortably that way. So you cook, I clean is the ENTJ female thought process, and hey, etc., etc. So I hope this sheds some new light for you on what that couple can look like. It's similar and yet it's different. So if you would like me to do some other couples in the same way, then let me know in the comment section which couples you would like me to filter through the male-female lens. And remember, nobody is as bad as a narcissist, which is why I wrote my book called The Workplace Narcissist, which is shocking that I even wrote a book, but I did it with you guys in mind because I know you want happy, flourishing relationships, and sometimes we can think that someone's Myers-Briggs type is horrible when the person is actually a narcissist. So, and it's about a specific type of narcissist that you could fall madly in love with. So check it out, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.